Here we go. Oh, we are live. We're now live. Hello, everyone. Jess Claire here. I am here with Shakti.
Shakti Savita.
I was like, that was one thing that would have been good to ask you about, is how you actually say your name. I didn't even think of that. We are coming to you live from Brisbane, Australia, and the Gold Coast.
Byron Bay.
Byron Bay.
Is there anything else that we should have cleared up before going live?
Oh, that's right. We cleared up everything else apart from these things, as it would turn out. So I'm here. We've got some people jumping on. I'll say hello. Hello, David. Hello, Renee, Sally. Anyone who is jumping on, please do leave us a hello. A hashtag as well. Do you have a hashtag? I'm all about hashtags. Hashtag here on purpose. Hashtag meditation center.
Hashtag enlightenment, obviously.
Oh, okay. Enlightenment. I'm very looking forward to being enlightened by the end of this.
Great.
I am. You're going to take me to my pathway of, what is it? To self-actualization?
Realization.
Of self-realization.
No, because you will have viscerally experienced it.
Oh, wow. That's so good. So who knows what that means? But by the end of this, we are apparently going to find out. So who else do we have on? Hello, Sally. Great hospital viewing. Okay, good. I hope you're okay. If you're in hospital, please leave some comments. You can, tune in for this whole thing. Hey, Jennifer. Who else have we got? David. Hope your socks are dry. Thank you. Great, thank you. Okay, Reese. So we'll get into it. So we're exploring, it's amazing how many people want to talk about this, taking offense and being offensive. And just before we go into this, Shakti is why don't you introduce yourself? Because I just say you run a meditation center.
Which is not true, but it could be, maybe, in some ways.
It turns out a center is a place, so it could be.
So I'm a Sattva Yoga master teacher, a self-empowerment coach, and a Kriya and meditation initiator. And I guide people on the path to self-realization. Love it.
I know. And I said I'd like you to come on my show, you're like, oh, let's talk about self-actualization. I'm like, no, we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about and this is the things I love. It's like we think, and I know you can please disagree with me and even take offense. We can demonstrate some of this stuff. When I hear self-actualization, I'm like, what does that mean? How am I going to actualize myself? Or self-realization? I realize I'm here. I'm here. I'm already here. And I think what this does is, and I think that's why I wanted to talk about the topic about taking offense, is it's like, I think sometimes we can use these terms like self-realization, chakra, healing.
Chakra, yes. Not chakra, chakra.
Oh wow, I've not even heard that tongue of it. And it can sometimes divide us, right? So we're like, oh, I can't even listen to that because I don't even know what that's about. I'm not that. I don't live in Byron Bay and run a meditation center. So I can't tune in. Whereas something that brings us all together is taking offense. Everyone knows that experience. I have never met a human being that has not been offended by something. So not even babies take offense pretty much straight away. They get out of the womb and they take offense to being cold. That they start crying because someone slaps them. It's all a bit offensive. So anyway, please do put your comments on here. We would love to interact with you guys about this. So let's go. why do people get offended from someone who has reached the highest point of self-realization?
Okay, well, first of all, I wouldn't say that I've reached the highest point of self-realization, just to clear that up. But it is what I'm dedicating my life to. Why do people get offended? Because, well, I believe when people are getting offended, it's because they're not in their center and they're having an emotional reaction to something that's outside of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, not in your center.
Yeah. Here we go.
Here we go. All right.
I was like, fuck, she's gonna pick up on that. And irrelevant.
I'm not in my center. So, if I'm not in my center, what is not being in your center? Because you know what I'd call that being?
Yep.
Pissed off.
Definitely it can be. It's when you're reacting to your external environment. And this is why I'm so passionate about what I do, is because in the practices that I teach and in the guidance that I give people through the teachings and the different practices that we do, we're training ourselves to literally become unshakable, and so that nothing in our external environment can shake us. It means people can say whatever they want. Any intense situation can happen in our life, and we're so centered within ourselves that we don't emotionally react, right?
Yeah.
But
do you reckon
a lot of practice?
Yeah, and look, firstly, I do want to highlight, I am absolutely, we've had a chat before this, I'm absolutely not, making fun of the work that you do, because I absolutely honor the work that you do and the difference that it makes to people. Like, I do get that. And what I'm doing is attempting to bridge a divide between the language. When people hear some of this stuff, it's like, I tune out. So when we say taking offense, right, people know that experience. So, yeah. So when you, what have we got? What have we got here? It's often due to our expectations of others when they fall short. Yeah, expectations. Is that the same as having a balanced life, keeping yourself centered? What do you think?
Yeah, in a lot of ways, yeah, because we need to take care of ourselves, and get to know ourselves and know what we need and honor what we need, and have a balanced lifestyle. For sure, that's a part of it.
Yeah. And look, it's easy to kind of talk in concepts, right? So we talk about having a balanced lifestyle. We talk about, I think Lorna has just said, the expectations. We talk about negative reactions, a triggered outside situation. But let's actually look. Firstly, let's acknowledge I am someone that's done a lot of work, not through yoga or meditation or the like, but through different kind of training. You'd call it being coached on different distinctions. So, in which to get empowered, whatever, leadership, there's plenty of things out there these days, right? You've got so many opportunities to actually distinguish certain things and why you get triggered and what, and clear your past and all that. So I've done that too, and I still experience getting triggered by things. Do you think, or getting offended? Do you think, and having expectations that I otherwise probably shouldn't have? Do you?
Totally, 100%. But I think it's our ability as we work on our awareness more and more, and it's our ability to become more and more self-aware to catch that a little bit faster when it happens, and to watch it happening and say, like, okay, right now I'm feeling this reactive experience that's like happening. I'm feeling that there's an emotional reaction and I'm triggered. And that's something that I'll just say, like, out loud. I'm triggered. And by stating right now, I'm triggered and I'm reacting to this and I'm having an emotional response to this, that's self-awareness, right? So you're catching yourself in that. And then you can come back to your center a lot quicker rather than, you know, getting too caught up in your story and spiraling too much into, you know, a deep, dark place. That still might happen, but rather than going into a deep, dark place for like 6 months, it might only be for a few hours.
Yeah. And when was the last time that happened? Let's have a look. I want to get into the real stuff. When did you last, well, actually, no, not getting into the real stuff, not when it last happened. What triggers you the most? What's something in life that it's just there as a trigger, or something that is being, like, you get offended by?
What triggers me? Yeah, I feel like, I don't know. Lack of, when people are inauthentic, you know, and I see it, and I see that people are inauthentic and they're not being real, like, that triggers me.
Oh, you're going to have a lot of fans on that one.
Right.
Yeah, I think so. You can see that someone is being fake, would you say, or pretending that there's something they're not, or?
Yeah, I feel like I have a pretty good intuition and I can see when things are there. Like, I can see what's beneath the surface. So it's like, whether you're honest about it or not, whether you're in your authenticity or you're not, I can see what's really going on. I can see through it. So, you know, it can trigger me when people when people just aren't raw and real with me, because like, that's a value of mine. That's like, so it's just so important for me to be authentic and open and in my integrity, you know? So when other people can't be, and we're communicating and relating, and I'm so dedicated to being so raw and so real and so open, I'm like, open up, be real, stop hiding from me, you know?
Yeah. What is it? What is it about that is offensive for you?
Well, it's my like deep desire for connection, you know. Connection is so beautiful on all levels with all people, like, to be able to connect. And I think to be able to connect in the way that I personally want to connect, it really takes people who are willing to be really raw and real with themselves and with me. But the thing is that for anyone out there who's watching this and who is also an empath, do I need to explain what that is?
Please do, that word. Oh man.
Do you not like that word? Did I?
I know. Nicole Gibson uses it too, so it's not just you.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'll change the word for anyone who's like sensitive.
I'm just not sure what it means.
Okay. Maybe it's when you feel everything and you're very sensitive. For anyone out there who can relate to that, we can pick up on other people's what's really going on, and we can pick up on how other people are feeling, and this affects us. And often we want to be met in a really deep and real place. And just a word of advice for anyone out there who also experiences this like I do: if you're not being met there and you want someone to be able to meet you there and they can't, it's just because maybe they haven't met themselves in that place or to that same depth that you have, and maybe that's where you want to be met, but that person just hasn't met themselves in that space. So how can they meet you there? You know, they've never experienced it.
Yeah, absolutely. So what you're saying is, so an empath, and I was just joking because I actually,
you actually are one.
Or else you'd
be running this movement.
Well, yeah, and I think the thing that limits me, that I don't like about the word empath, is I can see how sometimes it can be empowering, but I also I personally think everyone can be an empath. I think we're all actually designed to be, and so I don't like. See, this is what I say about labels: is sometimes they empower us and sometimes they limit us. So it's not like you and I are the only ones around. It's like anyone can be. It comes to access, right? It's accessing it. How do you access being empathic? And yes, you let it in. There's a whole lot that you experience and feel that you wouldn't, that you wouldn't ordinarily. So that's what I mean.
You're totally right. And I guess it's more in the moment. It's like we've probably all had moments of being the empath. It's not you're an empath and you're not, but it's just in the moment, in that moment when you are that, when you are feeling that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I get that. So now I've taken us completely off topic. Let's bring us back to what were we even talking about? You were explaining as an empath.
Well, you asked me what triggers me, and I was saying people can't be real with me.
Yeah. That's okay. All right, because you're empathic. Okay. And then you shared with everyone and gave them great.
I'm sorry.
No, perfect. So yeah, I think when I think about that as well, and you pointed to it when you just said to everyone, if you do know someone like that, meet people where they're at, right? It seems, and I could be wrong, it seems as though, from what I can see and I observe, that we get offended by offence as well.
Totally.
So right now, and that's something I trained myself out of, you could say. I trained myself to stop getting offended by when other people get offended.
Yeah, it's like they react and then you react back.
Yeah.
You can't control, we all know this. We've all heard that saying. It's like you can't control other people. You can only control yourself and the way that you respond to a situation rather than react.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and this is where I think it's really interesting. So in your experience, in everything that you've done, is there ever a time that being offended is about the other person?
No.
Really? I know this is we're about to go deep. We're about to go deep. Everyone, we're about to go deep. Watch out. You're offended. Hey?
Yeah, no, I think everything's a reflection of your own internal experience.
Yeah. I have observed the same too. Even when someone is being like even you could even say, so you would know then, even when you're observing someone being fake and you're getting offended, what you actually, I could imagine, do is go back and go, what's this bringing up in me? Yeah. And so how do you distinguish that? How do you do the work on that?
First of all, you acknowledge it and you see it, and this is why I would say, I am triggered because I'm having the awareness that this is what's happening right now and that it's my personal experience and response to the situation, right? I also like to say that I also see it as like a fluctuation in my emotions or in my state of being. So if I feel like I'm having an emotional response to something or reaction to something, it's like I'm just fluctuating right now. Like I don't feel stable right now in my emotions. My emotions are fluctuating. And then I allow myself to experience it. I allow myself to experience those emotions, but something is I do my best to experience those emotions without attaching a story and, blaming. Because if we attach the story, it's most likely going to be about being in our victim, either because of this person and them triggering us and what they've done. And, we've created a whole story around this of why we're offended. Or if we say, oh, this is me and this is my shit, we're going to create a whole story around, why we're getting triggered and all our old stuff. And sometimes that's important, but also not to get too caught up in the story and just to feel the emotions and let myself have that emotional experience so that it can be transmuted, and like so that it can lift and so that I can release it.
Yeah, transmuted.
Yeah. You can add that one to your spiritual dictionary.
Okay. I think when I think of transmuted, I think of someone sitting there going, like.
That's how I feel sometimes. It's a bit witchy.
No, I do. I get it. Transmuted. I do. I don't think we need to expand on that, but I do. Yes. I think I was just thinking about that, right? Because one of the things I really grappled with was, I mean, I've shared with you that I basically used to be a corporate bully. And it was only through beginning to see the impact that I had on people that my frustration, which would turn into being offended, being offensive, whatever it was I really had no idea I was doing it. I thought what I was doing was the way things needed to get done and I had the answers, right? What I found is that when I started to be able to own that things trigger me and be vulnerable enough to say something like this, I'll share this with you. When I could own and say, I'm upset by what you said, it hurts. And the thing I had to own the most is that there are actually still moments that the only thing I really want is to be hugged by my mum. And there are moments that I'm literally like, nothing happened. My friend said to me the other day, why can't you just be? She's watching. God, she's like, oh my God, you never shut up about that comment. I literally cried and I'm like, what is happening? I just wanted a hug from my mum. In that moment, I got triggered. Now, I used to not be able to, the not being able to deal with that. So turned into anger, frustration, argument. It was their fault. When I started to own, I got triggered. And actually in those moments, that's this experience of what I need usually comes with a whole lot going on. But there's that, like you said, there's this lack of understanding in the moment and all I want, it triggers these moments like from the past where all I wanted was someone to just be like loving with me. And what I got instead was, why can't you just be? Right? And so I looked at that and I think what it gave me was this real compassion for when I started sharing that with people, I realized there are a lot of people who feel that way and that's what they want and they don't know how to articulate it. So what it comes out is actually just being a big jerk. Yeah. I don't know. I just thought I'd share that with you. What do you...
How does that make you feel?
Which part? Being told to be?
Yeah.
Which part?
How did you, I'm sure it made you feel some not so nice things, but how did you overcome it?
How did I overcome it? Well,
move through it.
It was the actual, well, firstly, you know, I do a lot of coaching. So I got coached. I was like, I just keep getting pissed off at nothing. What the hell is going on? So I took that to my coach. And in the looking of it, I got to see that there was this incident where, oh my God, I'm just going to share this incident, where I fell down the stairs and I think my grandmother, this might actually be it's a bit funny. It is a bit of an incident, but I think my grandmother was doing her best when she told me to stop my belly aching as I was touching my ribs, right? So I know I'm laughing at that. It's not very funny, but in that moment, that's all I wanted was sort of that to be held. And then sometimes I just have these overwhelming moments and it sort of triggers that. Whereas before I used to think it was wrong to experience that. And that created all the anger. And now I just own it. I'm like, I need a hug from my mum. How about you? Will you just give me one? That's what I'd like. So yeah, it made me feel awful, like alone, sad, and like, yeah, I think the experience of being very alone, lonely.
How did you move through the aloneness or the
Sorry.
feeling? How did you move through the feeling of being lonely?
How did I move through it? Well, I don't know that until recently that I allowed it. I'm very, very good at driving out results, so I just took more on, so I didn't have to feel it.
Don't tell me that you're suppressing.
That's what I used to do. That's what I did, though. It is for a long time.
Yeah.
And probably just created another event.
What's your? This is okay. Maybe we'll talk about this after.
I know. You're like fully in, oh my God, I need to process her. Shit.
I'll help you after.
Oh my God. It's okay.
No, but the reason that I ask is
Yeah.
because for me, it's really important to, like say what you need and be able to be vulnerable, to be like, this is how I'm feeling and this is what I need. Like, I just need a hug right now. The reality is that person that you're asking for something from, like, isn't always going to be able to meet you where you want to be met. So
That's
yeah, you're going to ask for a hug and they're going to say no, and then you're going to be even more upset and heartbroken. So
well,
what do we do then? Of course, we can state our needs, but we have to be able to learn to ask for our needs, but have no attachment to the outcome and no expectation of what the outcome will be. And then even if our need isn't fulfilled, how can we fulfill that need on our own? How can we go back inwards and give ourselves that love that we so badly want that other person to give us, or that acknowledgement, or that whatever it is, so that we can become unshakable, like literally, so that even though maybe these people around us can't meet our needs, but it's not going to shake us, and we can move through that emotion and then continue to be solid within ourselves and come back to our center.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, right?
Yeah. Which is totally attainable for all people, by the way.
Self-mastery. Yeah, I think it is, and here's what I will say about that. At some point, I was so frustrated that I was like, yeah, whatever, yoga woman, you don't understand what my life is like.
Yeah.
So,
I was there once upon a time.
I actually think, and I might be wrong, I think we move through these spaces of, I'm not saying you have to stay there. In fact, I'm saying that there's so much out there now that you really don't have to. Like, I've set my life up so I do have people around me that I can go, I need a hug, and they give me one. I'm lucky. In saying that, I literally only have like 2 people I could trust to do that and not be rejected. Doesn't mean that I don't. It doesn't mean that I don't try, because I want everyone to have the chance. And I'm also a bit of a, like, I'm a bit of someone I like to test it out, because then people get to see how they react to vulnerability. Unless someone's vulnerable with them, they don't even know they react that way, and they can't even move through the process.
Yeah. I mean,
So
I think we should be vulnerable with people and like state our needs, I guess. It's just, we definitely should, 100%. But it's just not having an attachment to the outcome of that conversation, because I'm being vulnerable and I'm saying what I need, I'm going to be met. Because I'm being so raw and real and honest and being vulnerable with this person, they will just, accept me and love me and fulfill my needs, because it's not always the case. And that's not to say that we should isolate ourselves and be like, I don't need anyone, I'm so strong, because we're humans. Humans are tribal beings. Like, we need each other. We need support. We need physical connection and love and touch. I mean, like, fuck, have you heard about cuddle therapy?
Someone told me they went to a hug cafe.
A hug cafe, interesting.
A hug cafe and cuddle therapy. No, I haven't. Just before we get into cuddle therapy, let me just check. We're getting a little comments here. I want to get into cuddle therapy. I also want to make sure that you know that I am through the process and that I'm not left hanging in the middle of a incident.
Great.
And I will.
Asking like, do I need to drive to Brisbane right now?
And if you're asking that, that means that everyone tuning in is like, oh my God, is she okay? She fully needs a hug from her mum. No, it's fine. I'm all good for hugs. I got a couple over the weekend from some really great friends. It's all good. So, yes, Jennifer. Hello, Jennifer. If I haven't said hello to you and you're still watching, leave me a little hello so I can see that you're here. Hey, Rachel, transmuted. She knows what transmuted means. Hello, Lorna. Hey, Kayla. Hey, Kayla. So, hug therapy. Tell me about hug therapy. Is this so essentially, is this a good solution? Shall we say this is an idea for if someone's getting offended?
Oh, no.
Like,
It's definitely not ideal. The reason that I brought it up is because I was saying that we're tribal beings and we need each other, and like cuddle therapy is a thing, and it's come about where you're literally going and paying a professional cuddler to cuddle you and give you the physical affection that you're so deeply like yearning for, that you don't have it in your life, so you're going and paying a professional. And people do this, and that's okay. And I think it's amazing that that service is available, but it also makes me really sad and breaks my heart that humanity has gotten to a point where that service is even needed, because there are so many people who don't have access to that physical touch and connection that they need and that they're longing for. So they need to go and pay for a service, you know?
I get it. I totally get it. And if anyone is tuning in, I think you're rocking. If anyone is tuning in right now, they're seeing taking offense and being offended. And now we're talking about hugs. How the hell did we get here?
What's behind the offense? Like, you're triggered, sad, all of these emotions are coming up, but like, really, you just want to be loved and you just want to be cuddled.
It's funny, isn't it? It's like,
you're gonna go to cuddle therapy. I hope you have someone in your life that will hug you.
I don't know. When I was in my corporate bully mode, I don't really know that anyone has said, hey, would you like to go to cuddle therapy? I would have been like, do you want to punch in the face? Yeah, I don't know that I would have. However, what spoken to me was, and what did speak to me was, most people would just avoid me, argue with me, get offended back, and kind of reinforce in a way that my anger and frustration was wrong and I was wrong. And that reinforced me trying harder to prove I was better.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I feel like what's there is like people are blaming you when you're in that state, and so they're blaming you in the way that you are, and that you're not okay as you are, and you're not enough as you are. And actually what we can do in those situations when we feel like someone is offending us, or we feel like, you know, we're not happy with the other person, is just have more compassion for them. Because what's behind, you know, if someone is being negative towards us or hurtful or whatever, like, I always like to remind myself that if you're really full of love and love is really overflowing out of you, and you're really content within yourself, and you're really in your center and at peace with yourself, then you have no reason to spread any harm or hate or whatever it is. And so when I see people who maybe it's just like go back straight to compassion, because behind that there's pain there, and there's hurt there, and there's their, you know, own life experiences and their own things that have led them to where they are. And there's always a reason behind why they're doing what they're doing, why they're saying what they're saying. And it's their own internal world. So
oh, I totally get it. And honestly,
anything personally, you know, like what's this core agreements? Like never take anything personally, because it's always just how someone is reacting or acting in general. It's just a reflection of their own reality and their own life experience and their own world, and we can't take that personally.
Yeah, well, we can, and we do it frequently.
So well, let's work on it. You know, we can expand our awareness. Like, I believe in us.
I believe, I do. Someone said this to me the other day. It was like, I hope it gets better. I hope we become nicer to each other. And I turned to him and I went, I don't think they will. I don't think it's getting any nicer. So you might as well just live your life. And he was like, oh my God, that's so negative. I'm like, anyway, so I do actually believe that, and I'll tell you why. Some people find it very hard to hear what is referred to as negative. If we were to turn that around and go, take away negative and positive. Take away the idea that there is a negative expression and a positive expression. Take away that there's any right or wrong way to be. There's actually just people being however they're being.
Yeah. As a result of their own life experience.
Yeah.
Reality. It's just the isness.
It is, yeah. And so how about, you know, and I mean, this is what Here on Purpose is all about. How about you live your own life authentically? I know that's such a plug, isn't it? But what if you could develop and train yourself through modalities like yoga, like what's your event that you've got coming up?
It's a masterclass journey. We're going to be doing breath work and different practices, sharing some wisdom, some breath work, meditation.
It's breath work, meditation, and essentially that is an access to that kind of like calming experience. Like, what would you say if you were to say that was like a training? What are you training yourself in?
Self-mastery.
Self, and when you say self, you mean you have
self-mastery, mastering yourself. Yeah. So we when we do these practices, we're literally like expanding our consciousness, expanding our awareness, and expanding our capacity to be able to hold greater levels of intensity within our being, so that when an intense situation happens in our external life situation and our external reality, rather than going straight to that I'm triggered and emotionally reacting, we can be still in our center and calmly respond rather than react, because we've trained ourselves. Like when you come to my event, it's literally like a training ground for life, and it's training you to expand your capacity to be able to hold greater intensity within your being. So
yeah, okay.
Through
and so that
work and different techniques, but ultimately that's what we're doing.
And how that looks like, how I imagine that looks like, is in reality, you're walking along, you get offended, and how you'd usually react, you get to be different.
Yeah.
You might be calmer. You might be able to generate some form of compassion for the person in front of you. And, you know, what do you think that makes available when you can do that?
You just have a better inner world. Your experience of life is just more with effortless ease, because, you know, you can only have control over your own internal experience. That person who's offending you, you don't have control over them or their reactions or their experience of life. Like, you only have control over your own, right? And so don't give them your power. Like, take your power back. Take your power back into your own hands. Be empowered to have full control over your experience of reality in your inner world, and like make it a freaking fun one. Like make it joyful and blissful and peaceful, and don't suffer. Like we have the choice. If yes, pain is a part of our human experience, and it's a beautiful beautiful and very important part of our human experience. Pain is a part of love, but suffering is not. We don't have to suffer. We have the choice whether we want to suffer or not. Yeah, we can feel pain, but that's not suffering. Like,
No.
when we have resistance towards pain, that's when we suffer, you know? Because
I'm just looking, right, because I'm thinking when I was in corporate, before I did any work, I literally thought my life was incredible and I was not suffering. I would say that I would even call it, I'm surrounded by idiots. I just need to work out how to make them do what I want. And then everything's going to be great. Like there was this level of arrogance, and I was very arrogant and superior. And so, and that was absolutely not evident to me, right? So at the time, it would seem, so what do I want to say? Basically, the only person that really made a difference to me in that moment was someone that loved me the way I was, and then had the courage to be bold enough to basically go, Jess, could hear me complaining about people being, because I wouldn't ever directly talk to them. I'd complain to other people and gossip about people. But she had the courage, A, to love me the way I was, and B, to call me on it and go, are you going to spend the rest of your life complaining, or are you going to do something about it? And I remember that was like the first time anyone ever had the courage to stand up to me, because I was such a bully. And in that moment, it was like, this person's different. What is that? And that's what we call at Here on Purpose, that's what we call leadership, right? That is living your own life authentically. That is leading your own life when you can absolutely add nothing but love, compassion, generosity for people, and at the same time be the biggest, boldest stand for them. And they're
possible to be fierce, Love isn't always this like soft, let me give you a cuddle. Sometimes it is, and sometimes that's the relevant action, and to soften. Sometimes love is also fierce, and like calling people out on their shit, and like not being a doormat and letting people walk over you.
Oh, so many topics here. I'm going to do a whole topic on doormat. I could. I'm also a recovering doormat, which is interesting. Anyway, I think we all experience the things. I've just realised we've now gone 43 minutes. I see we could talk about this for ages.
Oh, literally. I just want to stay on because I'm having so much fun. Like, I don't care if watches it or not. Let's just keep going.
Well, let's have a look. Let's see. We've got some really cool comments here. For those of you that are still on, make sure if you got any questions for Shakti, or any questions for me.
I want to go into your psyche right now. Maybe we'll do it after.
Yours? No, you can. Hang on. Keep that question. Go into my psyche. You can do as much as you like. I feel like I'm around so many coaches, and I share so openly that they all want to have a go. What is right? So true, Jess. Not in the right and true core place for your being. Yeah. Nikki says her dog gives good hugs. Good. If you're truly happy in yourself, you won't be projecting. I don't know. I do think even though I would say I'm the happiest I've been in my life. I'm living out a dream. It's like I don't even feel like I'm working. I'm just playing all day, and I'm doing all this cool stuff, and that's my job. I don't know that you ever stop getting offended and sometimes having moments of reacting.
Yeah, I like to call it moments of fluctuation, because even though I can personally say that I have my moments of fluctuation. So even though, and that's why I call it too straight away, because you can be stable and that's your baseline. Maybe you're feeling stable, you're feeling really good, you're feeling happy, your nervous system's calm, whatever. But then sometimes something's going to happen and you're going to trigger and you're going to fluctuate and you're going to go up and down. And that's just part of the journey of life. Yeah. And so to call it when that's happening is the best thing that you can do, because then you don't get sucked into it. Straight away, you're aware of it. I'm fluctuating right now.
Yeah. And look, I and sometimes people can come across that and think, it's just another person getting triggered, and it can be frustrating and whatever. I'm just saying that, you know, sometimes people can then go, oh, they're not happy in themselves because they got triggered. No, they just might be having a human moment.
Yeah.
You know,
And
there really is like, well, you could, as an access, you could say something like, hey, have I just triggered you? Just acknowledge it.
Yeah.
You okay? Is everything okay? I trigger people all the time.
Yeah, I think conscious communication is really, really such an important piece. But we can't always, as I said, we can't always like control the way that the other person will be. Maybe we want to bring up these, you know, open, honest, conscious communication, like conscious conversations, and, you know, practice NVC, nonviolent communication, which is an amazing modality of communicating with another person and being able to express yourself authentically and be heard and seen and have but if we can find people that will meet us in that space and do these things with us, that's incredible. But you can't always, you know.
You can't. And look, I'm around so many, you know, I would say incredibly committed people to this sort of work. And even at times, I don't even hit the mark. Totally. And they don't hit the mark. It's not about perfection. For me, it's like actually it's about being authentic. It's sometimes you just don't. And you can acknowledge that.
Accepting it too, like just accepting it, that you're enough in this moment.
Yeah. Absolutely. So what have we got here? I'm a recovering doormat too. Good. Thank you, Kayla. Love that. Controlling others is not really our business. Although checking in if you feel you may have triggered someone. Yeah, and you don't even have to do anything. But it's sometimes the acknowledgement of it can be so empowering. I know that when people say, have you triggered me? Are you triggered? If someone even acknowledges that, it's like, oh, we're here on this planet in this moment together. It's not, I'm not up here in the clouds on my own trying to pretend I'm not triggered and doing all these weird faces trying to think I'm not triggered, I'm fine.
And while self-responsibility is so important, it's like also sharing where we're at in our process and just being honest about it, like, is also amazing. And maybe if that person really loves us, then they'll also make an effort to like make it better, give us the hug we really want, you know, even though it's like, I'm triggered and this is my shit. By saying, hey, I'm triggered, this is my shit, I'm consciously working on myself, but like I'm taking responsibility for myself that I'm triggered, but I'm just sharing. Maybe if they really care, they'll meet us halfway. Like, oh, you're going to take responsibility that you're triggered and you're going to, you know, own your shit. Well, I'm actually going to meet you there and, hey, what do you need? Like, yeah.
Absolutely. That can be a key takeaway. How about that? Key takeaway. Become, learn, you know, train, develop yourself however you need to. I mean, there's so much stuff out there now. There's Shakti, go see Shakti. Make sure you put a link in as well for that event that you've got going on.
Okay, I'll put a link to my Facebook page.
Yeah. I'll link to Facebook or drop a link to the event page if you've got one as well.
Yeah.
For that little thing that you're doing. There's other things that are out there. There's other modalities. You can always DM me. We've got events coming up, so you can come and explore the different events that we've got going on. We've got young adults coming up on the 1st of May, looking at, you know, you've got a very high suicide rate amongst young adults. In fact, leading cause of death is suicide in young adults. So there's all these things out there for support and for, you don't have to do this. No matter what you think, you are just as human as every other human on the planet. And there actually are ways to train yourself to be the human being that you want to be. Drops mic, walks away. Yes. Hello, Craig. Oh, yes, Lorna. Gwen Stefani. That's my shit. That's my shit. Love it. Am I offended or being challenged? Oh, well, you can Put whatever linguistic turn on it you want. we've talked we've talked about that. There's so many different ways: offended, triggered, upset, frustrated, you name it. Whatever it is, it's an experience you don't want to have, and then you have to pretend you don't have it. And the more pretending of not having it, the worse it's going to get for you. Excuse me. So on that note, on that positive note,
no, you have the power to experience life the way that you want and take ownership over your experience, and no one else has power over you, so don't give your power away to other people.
Excuse me. No. Sorry, now I'm coughing. It's like I knew I should have made that scotch before I started this. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think
also don't take yourself too seriously and don't drown in a glass of water.
I love that. And look, I definitely don't take myself too seriously. I think it's funny that you got on here as well and you're like, what are you gonna ask me? And I'm like, we gone deep. We haven't probably even gone to the depths that we could.
I didn't go as deep as I wanted to, but you know, it's all right.
Yeah, I
don't want to scare people.
Look, I just want you to know that what I shared with you about wanting a hug from my mum.
It was very deep.
It was deep, wasn't it?
It was.
You know, I actually got so much freedom in being able to be vulnerable to even ask.
Yeah.
And I do, so how good's this? My housemates just bought me some scotch.
Love that. Look my laptop.
Oh, what happened? She's disappeared. Sorry, people. She's coming back.
Sorry, my laptop's going to die. I'm pretty sure it's better that I just got up for a second.
We will end in a couple of minutes anyway. But, you know, I don't even know what I was saying. It's going to be profound.
I had something really profound to say too, and I lost it.
I have to hang on.
Wait, let me just get back into my center.
I'll come back to my center. Hang on.
I don't know.
Oh, there we go. Came right back. So I know I said that thing about my mum, but it was actually a test for me to go, if I can be this vulnerable and I can get what I get from whatever I get from people when I am, I think life is really about growing. So we're going to have to get offended as we grow because that's kind of the process. But I think it's really important to be able to own all of that, not hide it. So I want you to know that I fully own it. I'm not stuck in the process. I'm sure there's another level of me not even needing to get a hug. But right now, wherever I am with that is like where I am. And my whole thing is about, I'm perfect where I'm at. I don't need to be anywhere else. And I'm always doing different things to train myself to go next level anyway. So, yeah. What would you like to end on, Shakti? Like what, if you could leave?
I wanted to say, like, compliment you. I mean, just that, even being able to speak out and voice your truth and say what you need and be vulnerable in that, like, that's so beautiful. And at the end of the day, even if you don't get your need met or don't get what you think you want, it's like, you know, in your heart that you were being true and honest with yourself and being raw and being vulnerable. And we can really, as we said, we can only control, you know, ourselves and not other people. So you know that you're being as authentic as you can, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your beautiful, unique wisdom, your expression, and giving us access to your meditation center.
Next event's on the Gold Coast, guys. Come and join me. It's this Friday night.
Yeah. And it's on the Gold Coast, is it?
It is.
Okay, and we'll end with
So Craig. I'll see you there then. Cool.
Sorry?
So I'll expect to see you there then.
You know, I would love to come actually. It sounds amazing. I've got my kids and my poor little son has just hit his head and so he's in stitches. So I'm going to be looking after him. But otherwise I would, because it sounds fabulous. And everyone who's watching, go check out this awesome human making a difference to thousands and thousands of people. So yeah, thank you, Shakti. Thank you for coming on. I honor you. Thank you for all the work that you do. And if you guys want to reach out to her about anything, DM her. If you have any questions about anything, we'd love, chuck some comments in here, and I'll also put the link to the young adults that's coming up as well. All right. Thank you so much. Have a lovely evening. I'll talk to you later.
Guys, bye.
Bye.